Thank you everyone for joining the second workshop of Tech Club being presented by SpecBook. This is a session that please feel free to ask any questions. Actually, before this conversation, Graham was like, can I ask questions from the audience? I'm like, absolutely do it. This is a very informal session and we want the conversation to flow for everyone. My name is Tanya Madda. I am the founder of Lean Architect and the chair of technology at AIA TEXO Dallas. And when we started Tech Club, the reason and the goal of it was to bring the industry together through technology and AI. We realized that architectural companies, construction companies, engineering companies are creating these smaller groups that are dedicating time to technology, but how could we do it as an industry, not just in isolation, where the connection can happen, where we all as industry can say, hey, we are collaborating through technology. So we needed a program, and we created a program containing 4 phases, which was collecting information, analysis, small step solution, and education. In collecting information, we just try to hear the industry out, to understand how we can be more collaborative than finger pointing at each other. So we had these 4 sessions inviting and welcoming architects, contractors, engineers, manufacturers, lawyers into the table to tell us where the pain is, where the gap is, where is that we always say, oh, this part is not something that I'm looking for in my workload. And then we went to analysis. We took the data from collecting information and found that gap. And then a small step solution was when we went to technology teams in the world to find out which solution actually is answering to the pains that we figured and found in collecting information mode. And now we are in education, which this is one of the lectures of that. We have 2 kind of sessions. One is the Tech Club Forum bi-weekly, which this is one of those sessions that is very informal and this conversation flows. And then we have Technology Roundtable that happens twice a year and more formal. With that, I want to welcome Graham Ralston and Wes Heather, and I want to give you a little bit of background from them. And yes, I absolutely use AI to get this information.
Of course.
Graham is the head of operation at SpecBook.ai, where he leads strategy, partnership, and client engagement to bring cutting-edge technology solutions to the AEC industry. With dual expertise as both an attorney and a certified public accountant, Graham brings a unique perspective to scaling innovative platforms like SpecBook. He spent 8 years at the U.S. Department of Transportation as an advisor to the Secretary on small business participation on infrastructure projects and financing public-private partnerships. Wes is the co-founder and chief product officer of SpecBook, where he leads the design and development of innovative virtual collaboration solutions. Previously, he co-founded Outreach.io, helping build the product from ground up to unicorn status. This is very impressive. With the background in game development and multiple startups, Wes brings a unique blend of creativity, technical expertise, and entrepreneurial spirit. Originally from Sacramento, California, he earned his degree in computer science from the University of Washington. With that, we are very, very excited for you guys to start, and we are ready to learn from you guys.
Thank you very much. Yep. Thank you so much for that introduction, Tanya. And yeah, once you stop sharing, I'll be able to pull up my presentation. Thank you to you, Tanya and Sarah, for inviting us here today. And thank you to all the participants for coming here today. And we are very excited to share with you on what we're building, what we're learning. But we would also love this to be a collaborative dialogue, where during the presentation, we would love to learn from you and have engagement from you on, this is what we're hearing from other companies as we're developing the product, but we're also very interested from your perspective on where you're seeing gaps, or how would you view what we're building differently from your own experience. So please, at any time, jump in. We would love to hear from you. With that being said, and Tanya already gave a great introduction for us, so we can skip that slide. What we're going to cover in the presentation today quickly is even before we get into the specific workflows around SpecBook, we want to talk generally about what are even the issues at the top level of implementing software within the AEC industry. Then we'll talk about the specific workflows as it relates to the AEC industry and how SpecBook is solving some of those problems. And then eventually we'll go into a product demo led by Wes. So first off, when we think about, even if there is a tool like SpecBook or others that you want to bring into your organization, there might be overarching challenges within your organization that would prevent something like that from happening. And what better place to ask this question than a tech club here today? So when we think about, and what we've heard from companies as we're working with them in terms of implementation challenges are, you have legacy systems or fragmented tools along with siloed and poor quality data. What does that mean is some firms are having to jump on and use exactly what the owner is wanting them to use, or the GC tool. And different segments, even throughout the country for a large GC, might be operating on different pieces of software. So you have disjointed organization over organizations and on different projects. So just being able to bring in software to create some conformity there. Another big one that's come up, especially with AI, is, what if I'm sharing this data and these contracts and these specs? Is it going to train a model? Where does it go next? What is the AI going to do with my data? What are the ethical and privacy considerations with my organization before even adapting an AI related tool? And last but not least, skills gap and lack of training, whether it's having the right people with the right experience that could go in and adopting new technology, or even the capacity for your team to take on new trainings because you're focused just on getting the job done or training junior employees as they're coming into the organization. So I'd like to pause here before I share what SpecBook's doing to address some of these issues and how we built the product. I'd like to hear, has anyone experienced other implementation challenges as they've tried different software? Specifically, AI would be great.
Let's see. I almost want to say not necessarily a particular situation that I've come across, but mainly just reviewing what's there and then seeing if it can do all the things that our expectations kind of set for us to do. And so it's almost like a juggling of reviewing before you've been able to implement completely without trying to hold on to our resources. In other words, not trying to, we've kind of gotten burned before in the past with multiple platforms for construction management and document orientation. And so I think that specifically someone that's in my seat, we're always looking to, okay, slowly invest in a little bit more instead of just jumping right away to it. So, but when it comes to integrating AI into the everyday swing of things, I haven't had a lot of experience doing that just quite yet.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, both the risk of time and money, time being the investment of people having to learn the new tool, maybe uploading documents or data, plus the cost of that subscription and hoping it works. And would it be fair to say it would be better if you could see some of those results upfront in a low time cost scenario, or even free too when it comes to a monetary cost before implementation? Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, and it's kind of tricky there too, right? Because I think most folks are like 30 to 60 days on, testing something out. And
Hmm.
so by the time we're uploading IP and, like, what is it good for what would it be good for? It's like, yeah, it's definitely um, a juggling act, I think, to
Yeah,
be able to just facilitate with a specification is such a hard, you know, legal document that, you want to, you can't really go quickly with it.
exactly. Yes. And Jose, can I ask, are you a architect, designer, GC?
Oh, I'm the best. I'm the best of
You're
both sides. Yeah,
okay.
so
Okay.
so I'm an architect by training, but I work
Okay.
for a GC. And so
Okay.
I have a leg on one side of each side of the table. I'm
Yeah.
just sifting on either side there. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm definitely interested in uh, seeing what your product does um, to help facilitate making that relationship go smoother.
Perfect. Thank you for the feedback. Anyone else experience any other challenges? All right. Feel free to jump in. But how we're thinking about some of those challenges is we tried to build our system, as Wes will show you, to where we're a standalone app that someone could come in, upload specs, submittals, and start to see value within an hour that we don't need, for companies that have fragmented systems or data silos. Someone could come in and start testing same day to start see that value. Something we also do is in our initial demos, we always offer companies the opportunity to share a set of specs, drawings, submittals with us and review those results on an initial demo. And what's great is if they have a recent project that they've worked on and they've already identified what those issues were on the submittals, it's a great test to see how we compare, our system. Someone could see the value right away and how we think about trust and governance. We are SOC 2, Type 2. None of the data that touches our system ever trains a foundational model, nor are we building our own model the way our technology works. And we do have customers that are even working on DoD, CUI, confidential information. So we do have ways to protect from a high grade security standpoint, information that's coming into our system. Now, when we think about specific workflow challenges, and we're going deeper now, specifically into the SpecBook workflow, and thinking about, right now we have everyone throughout the AEC industry as a user within SpecBook. And what we've heard across the industry thus far is from architects, some of their pain points are the initial ambiguities or contradictions in specifications, and how do I find a quick way to review my initial spec writing, not only within the specs themselves, but even comparisons of the specs against the drawings or the amended drawings, and where are the gaps and the contradictions there. Limited feedback loops once the specs are actually out in the field. And also just the overall manual review of hundreds, if not thousands of pages that can be burdensome for anyone in any industry. And with engineers, that they might spend up to 35% of their time on document review, facing submittal bottleneck delays, the risk of wrong or non-compliant materials with rework costing potentially 5 to 9% of the budget on average, which as a total global cost, that amounts to about $1.63 trillion if you were to aggregate the total waste of rework in the world. And then for contractors, the slow submittal turnaround time, which leads to project delays. Once again, the risk of wrong or non-compliant materials leading to rework. high risk of disputes. No one wants to be in lengthy litigation, working with attorneys all day. It's not only a high cost, but a high stressful environment. And these are some of the items that are paramount from the stakeholders we've engaged with today. I'm curious as it relates to design quality review or submittal review. Are there any other pain points that we're missing in terms of what we've shared today that any of you are facing?
I think the whole process, I see the whole process as a pain because like when it comes to CA and all the submittals are coming, just the way that we are receiving them and having like a platform of like, we all agree of like receiving them and then where to like save them locally or how are we going to name them and then how are we going to the timing and then the comparison is probably the hardest part. The comparison sometimes for me was that like this is not something that like a human can do easily. It like really is like an AI task. So I say that the whole process is very inefficient currently in AEC industry. We're spending way too much time on something that you cannot really be accurate and confident on the answers that we're sending out because we're human and we may miss stuff, and especially that we are dealing with pages and pages of documents in a very short amount of time. So the whole thing needs a solution.
Yes. Thank you, Tanya. And the way that how the SpecBook platform works, and we'll talk about how we're addressing this problem. And Wes is going to show a demonstration of this. But essentially, companies can upload their specs, their drawings, standards, data sheets, submittals, along with, we do have integrations to systems like Procore. We're building one into ACC. We believe it's paramount to going back to that first slide on implementation about we always want to try and fit into an existing workflow for our customers, right? We want to make it seamless for fitting into making it easy and efficient for them to leverage our tool. And as you combined all these items, the key parts of the SpecBook platform are a Q&A agent that you can think about as a project engineer, architect on demand, submittal review agent. And what's new for us, Tanya, that I don't even think the last time we talked that this had been rolled out, and it's something we're developing, is something related to design quality review. And that goes into the initial area of comparing specs against themselves, specs against drawings, really at the front end of the project. And this came about from listening to the industry, from our early customers, the large GCs telling us, hey, this is something that we'd like to solve as a problem up front. And this is where, us also listening to you and moving forward and working with customers, we build our product based on the pains that we're hearing from our users. And that's paramount to us in our team as we work closely. And who is using the SpecBook platform right now? Well, we have owners that they're wanting to have insights into, why is my project getting delayed, or trying to analyze what has gone wrong with some of these submittal bottlenecks. Why did we end up in litigation? Why do we have so many change orders? Whether they're a user or they're asking a GC to be a user of our product, and then they're leveraging insights of that GC. Architects and engineers, maybe they're doing a review up front at the beginning of the project, or they're using it as an insurance layer after they've already done their initial review as kind of a checks and balance there. GCs on our platform are either reviewing their submittals that are coming in, and we have a functionality to annotate and download the actual submittal and kick it back down to the subcontractor, or it could be pushed up to the architect or designer for their review. And then the subs also have the ability in our platform to actually generate their submittal package. So within that spec, what are they responsible for? generate a submittal log and create a template cover letter and attach the right product data, or help generate that submittal that then would be pushed up to the GC or architect for their review. Last but not least, before we jump into Wes's demo, how to work with SpecBook. I shared earlier in the presentation, we always welcome the ability to provide a demo specifically on your own specs, drawings, and submittals. If it was a project that you've recently worked on, the better, because then you can compare what you found versus what our system found. We do offer some limited trials. And then in terms of subscriptions, we do project specific or seat-based or company-wide. So just depends on the organization and what they're looking for, and happy to meet them where they are. Are there any questions for me at this point?
I think we're ready to see it.
All right, Wes.
Cool, thanks, Graham. Yeah, let me get my screen fired up here. And then make sure everyone can see my screen. You guys see it? All good?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. So this is SpecBook. This is our own company's workspace just for demo purposes. You can see this is the projects page. So you can have a bunch of projects in here. Let me just click into one to kind of show you how it's set up here. I can explain how it's all put together here. So the San Bernardino County project, this is a median regrade project. And basically what you do when you start with a new project is you put in your spec files. And so the way this works in SpecBook is really just upload your entire spec file. This can be a conform spec file. You don't have to do one section at a time or anything, right? These are massive, 550 pages. We handle thousands of pages of spec files here. So you can see in this project here, we uploaded the 2010 Caltrans standard specs. And then we also added the special provisions, right, which is a layer on top of this project that has the actual project details. So that's the first step. You put in your spec files, and then we parse all of the sections out of all those files automatically. And then we conform each spec section together. So you can see these are all the sections. They've been all split up. Again, there was no manual work here. This is all done by the AI system. And so you can inspect each section here. This is actually the conformed view, right? So this conformed view is used within our submittal reviews, right? So this is kind of the source of truth that it uses, and it's the combined version of both the Caltrans standard spec here, plus all the additions and modifications from the special provisions. So if you're familiar with Caltrans revisions or special revisions, they have paragraphs like this, right? Add between the first and second sentence of section 6, right, or section 7, whatever it is. So this is the first step in actually setting up your project, getting all the spec files in. We do support drawings as well. This project doesn't have any drawings, but I'll show you another one after this project that does have some drawings. And so what you can do, Graham mentioned our conversational agent, right? So you can actually ask questions just like you can in ChatGPT against your specs and drawings. And so let me go down to a section here. We'll do like section 39, hot mix asphalt. So here I can toggle this AI chat, right? So if you're familiar with a ChatGPT, it kind of works the same way. You can just ask questions against it. And let me copy paste the question in so I don't have to type this. But what I've typed here basically is I'm preparing a submittal for the asphalt rubber binder. What are the material composition requirements for the crumb rubber modifier, including the allowable percentages of scrap tire rubber and high natural rubber, right? So this is able to scan this 47-page spec section and pull out all the details here with citations as well, so you know where in the document this is actually found. But yeah, return that the scrap tire crumb rubber needs to be 75% plus or minus 2%, and the high natural scrap tire rubber needs to be 25 plus or minus 2% here. And so looks like this was actually found inside the special provisions, right? And this is where it's at, right here. I pulled it from there, and then the table below. Then I can do one more question just to show you what else I can do. All right. So we are paving a 0.2 foot thick layer of HMA type A with a modified asphalt binder. What are the required surface temperatures for completing the first coverage? And again, it's scanning the spec and it's digesting everything. These are really dense specs, right? So no one likes to scan through the entire thing or do a Command F, which half the time you miss it, right? You're not sure the keyword to search. But this actually found, let's see. Yeah, here is where it talks about the degrees, right? So the first coverage of breakdown compaction must be completed before the surface temperature drops below 280 degrees. And then all breakdowns and intermediate compaction must be completed before the surface temperature drops below 260 degrees. So this is just an example of what types of questions and answers you can expect from our system, searching across specs and drawings. Is there any questions on this part of it? Just the Q&A?
I'm excited for the part that you bring a submittal in.
Yeah. All right, let's look at some submittals. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so we'll go to the submittal packages section. So submittal packages, you can easily upload this by just clicking this button and then dragging and dropping in a PDF. And so there's a couple packages in here already. And I'll just click into this high-grade concrete mix design one. And so this is a review that's already been ran on this submittal, which you can preview here. This is what the submittal looks like. So it's a concrete mix design, and it has the mix design here. It has some laboratory test results, and it has a bunch of other information in here. The concrete product, add mixture. And so what happens when you first upload a submittal is it matches it to a spec section, right? So it shows section 90 concrete, and it finds this automatically. But if you want to modify the spec sections or drawings you want it to start the submittal review with, you can just type in new sections here. But what you're looking at here on the left is basically the overview of the submittal, right? So we have a list of key findings and then a summary below here. And how we actually come up with this overview is based on the breakdown here, right? And this is how our review works, where what it does is for every single paragraph inside the spec section that's assigned to the submittal review, we do a thorough analysis, right? So you can click on each one of these paragraphs in the spec. Again, this is the paragraph that it's doing this check on. But for each one, it actually does a review analysis. So so up top, you can see that it found 63 compliant items, and it found 8 non-compliant. And again, for each one, you can drill down to see exactly what the reasoning is behind these findings. And then 42 needs review. These are items that the AI flagged as kind of needing human intervention, right? So it couldn't make a clear-cut thought about whether it's compliant or non-compliant. So these actually should be looked at. And then also it's still covering the entire spec, right? So 650 paragraphs inside the spec that that don't apply to this review, but just to show that it's being this thorough, right? So it's not, you can't get this level of thoroughness if you dropped in the spec in the submittal within ChatGPT, for instance, right? If you run it multiple times, it's going to give you different results each time because it kind of picks and chooses what part of the submittal and spec to look at. Whereas our system, this review actually ran hundreds of different prompts to the large language model to come up with this review. And so this is how the overview sort of summarizes this, the results of the review is by looking at the breakdown and the results of each paragraph of the review. And so these are some of the findings. I'll expand this first one here, right? So this is the water cementitious material ratio. It was the submitted mix design shows a ratio of 0.51, and it runs the calculation here how it came up with that, and it says that it should not exceed 0.40, but it actually does here. And then same here, the mix design has 591 pounds per cubic yard of cementitious material, and the spec requires at least 675 pounds. So these are the kind of things that it flags, and there's different levels for each one it finds, right? So this one just says clarifications needed, and you can kind of use your own judgment to see whether you care about these or not. But the goal is that it flags things that maybe you weren't aware of previously, and it lets you know what it thinks. And then also, you can ask questions against the submittal, right? So same way with specs and drawings, you can ask anything. So let me paste in another question that might be relevant. I'm reviewing the aggregate information in the submittal. Can you identify the supplier listed for the aggregates in the main concrete mix design, and then compare it to the supplier named in the attached lab test results? And right here, you can see that it found a discrepancy where the main concrete mix design specifies the supplier's AgCon Inc., but the lab test reports, they have the supplier's Terrastone aggregates. Yeah, so you can definitely drill into all the details here without manually scanning through this. So any questions about what I'm showing here, or any parts you want me to dive deeper on?
I do have a question. Hi, this is Pega Jahangirpur.
Hi.
I joined a little bit later to this meeting, and here you're showing drawings and submittals and specification. So for these submittals, it does review the drawings too, or it just kind of for accuracy for the specs?
So it does review drawings. I will say that it's the drawing review support, it's in beta, right? So it's not gonna do super well with like a really complicated rebar drawing yet. But as the technology improves, it's definitely gonna get there. But here, let me show you another project real quick. We have this Sunshine Bridge project, which is a repair on a bridge. I think it's a anode installation on a bridge. So this review, so we're reviewing against 2 spec sections plus a drawing, right? So this is kind of the level of complexity that you expected to do a good job on a drawing review right now. And the submittal looks like this, right? It's a simple, here, I'll expand this out. So it's a simple shop drawing that references the sheet that I just showed you. And the results you get, right? So it's gonna look at the actual dimensions of what's in the drawing and the drawing sheet. And so it can give you things like this, right? So the overall assembly length submitted as 6 feet 8 inches requires a 6 feet 8 inches, 8.5 inches, plus or minus 1/8. Right, or this one, the shop drawing was submitted as 5 feet 0 inches, but it's required 6.5 inch. So it can actually go into details with the call outs on the drawing and kind of do dimension analysis. But it's not going to be perfect at like a really complicated shop drawing or anything yet, but we're working towards that. But as far as text reviews and technical spec sections, it does a really good job today.
Okay, awesome. So that means if we have a good schedule, like comprehensive schedule, it's linked better because schedule is wording and numbers, right?
Yeah, so it does actually work pretty well with the other data in drawing sheets. So if I click into the drawing section, these are all the drawing sheets of the Sunshine Bridge project. So if I go into like this drawing sheet, or let's see, that one doesn't have a schedule on it. Let's go to Dolphin Details, I think has it. Right, so I should be able to go start a new conversation. So I can ask it something like, based on this schedule, in this sheet, what is the total number of, let's see, anodes required for all of the 2N? Let's see what it does there. But yeah, what we do is we actually we index these drawings in a way where it knows about the schedule tables, it knows about notes. It can do calculations based on all these because it's all indexed in a certain way where it can run those calculations. And also the text doesn't have to be selectable in these PDFs, right? So it does proper OCR and everything. It pulls all that stuff in. Right? So as you can see here, it knew to look at all the 2N nodes here and the number of anodes to install for each of the 2Ns in the schedule, and it combined them all up and it got 207. So yeah, you can ask questions against the drawings just in the same way.
Thank you for explaining.
I have a question. This is
Yeah.
very, very impressive because my company also started just providing some custom-made solutions, AI solutions for specific tasks that architects are facing. One thing that is very impressive is that you are creating the software in a way that you actually know the pain of that AEC is going through. Because as an example, it's not just like the software finding the solution in the spec, you can override it. And this is something that a lot of softwares out there are missing, that when they find something for you, that's it. You don't get to override it and say, hey, by the way, also check this, or also consider this one. So this is that was a very interesting thing that was added. And then the fact that we have everything right here, like I don't need to go find the spec, open it, and then find the submittal, open it, and then find the portion that is actually working and compare them against them, and not ever be confident on my work. Also, the calculation part, it understands the tables and it does the calculation, which is extremely impressive, because you're not using that company's data to train it, are you? Like, how does this portion of it work? Because I'm sure that you mentioned that the security is there, the data is not going to be shared with anyone. So your system should be extremely powerful to be able to understand and do the calculation without ever being trained by that specific data that it's going to be function on.
Yeah, so that's right. We don't do any training with the customer's data. It's really just the foundational models are really, really powerful these days. And the challenge is just feeding it the right information. So it's just a bunch of prompt engineering on our side, where we load in the right data from your own project, and it has to be the right data, right? So you need to know exactly what to feed the large language model to get good results. And on the back end, we use a combination of a bunch of different models, but primarily we use Google Gemini 2.5 Pro. We found it to be really good at PDF parsing and all that. But yeah, it's really the magic of these foundational models, plus a combination of our agentic workflows and the prompt engineering we have behind the scenes to make it really customizable to your own org.
It's very, very impressive. I will be using it.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can jump into the last thing Graham talked about, which is our agents, where we're starting with design quality reviews. And if you're on the construction side, maybe they're called constructability reviews. So these are, right, like before you're bidding on a project, you want to make sure the specs are looking good and there's not a lot of mistakes or errors, and make sure the drawings kind of match the specs. Right. And then on the other side, if you're actually designing specs, or you're doing a design build, right, you want to make sure all your files are consistent and there's no holes or gaps inside your specs or drawings. And so we're playing around with this, and this is basically what this is it's bringing it's like a deep research, right? If you guys have played around with deep research and some of these large language models, we're bringing that to your own constructability files. So deep research is basically just like a really long-running agentic workflow, right? Where the agent can do a bunch of work here. So let me just hit start review on this design quality review. And what this is going to do is look at all the specs and the drawings in our system. But what you can do is you can see the agent thinking along the way. And this review is probably going to take 30 minutes or so. So it's not just a simple Q&A, right? Where you have a question, you get an answer. This is like, it's actually doing a bunch of reasoning and thinking behind the scenes. And then its output for this agent is a gap resolution matrix, right? So it's finding conflicts and things that thinks is errors inside your specs and drawings, and it's populating this little matrix here, right? So we're starting with design quality review, but we're gonna go to things like spec generation, which we already have today, but like a much deeper way to do this in like a deep research type of way, right? Where it spends a lot of time reasoning and thinking through all your documents at once. So any questions about design quality review? Have you guys seen something like this in the market already, or is this like top of mind at all for people on the call?
I have not seen it. So here in this case, it is actually going through the drawings as well, right?
Yeah, it's starting with the specs. I don't think it's hit the drawings yet.
Okay, got it.
But yeah, the goal being you can tell it to do targeted lookups and conflict detections, and then just let it rip and tell you what it finds.
So does it also cover like RFIs and assist with that, or you are in the submittal for now?
Sorry, say that again.
You see how you can like compare it against submittals? I know that like RFI is also part of the CA process that we love to see that we can get some assist with. Is that something that you currently have, or excuse me, or will have in the future of a SpecBook?
So basically what I showed you, but for the submittal side?
No, for RFIs, for requests for information.
Oh, sorry. Yes. That is something we're going to be tackling soon. That's something we'll probably sync from your CMS as well, ideally. So if you're using a Procore or a Autodesk, we would sync those in just like you can do today with submittals. And then, yeah, we would use those to do the review as well, right? Because a lot of that information is going to live in the RFI and not just in the spec revisions and whatnot.
That sounds great. We have a question in the chat from Justin. Justin, do you want to ask it yourself?
Hey, good morning. Well,
Go ahead.
Hey, Justin.
hey, yeah, so I was wondering, I know it's running through the design quality review right now. But do you have an example of what exactly it finds in the drawings? It said that it reviews the drawings as well. Like what kind of things does it look like?
That's a good question. We can try and find one. And again, this is in beta, like this has been out for about a week. So I'm not actually sure on the drawing side specifically. We've been testing it mostly with our specs. But let me actually see. Can you focus on the drawing sheets specs? I'm curious, Justin, what kind of things you look for when you're comparing against the drawings. Like, do you have anything in mind that, like, types of conflicts or inconsistencies that you sometimes find in drawing sheets?
Yeah, it's just there's obviously like graphics things, but maybe I'm thinking about coordination with anything structural and ourselves to like if this is something that can read the drawings, let's say our ceiling height is X, but then we have MEP ductwork that obviously it's lower than that, like can it detect that?
More like flash detection, kind of.
Yeah, kind of like I'm just giving an example of what flash detection would be. Wondering if there's like other things like spell check or like it's just things along that stuff. Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
Or like if it reads a detail and it looks like you put your fluid applied sheeting, or there's another detail, it looks like your fluid applied on top of that rigid insulation or something, and it tells you, hey, that's those details. So it's just that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to find anything from this project. I don't know if I have any examples to show you for the drawing analysis conflicts. But yeah, we're looking for design partners, right? Like we want people to help us kind of get the drawings right? Because the drawings, the drawing reviews, especially, that's some of the most complicated stuff we want to make sure we get right.
I think that one of the most important parts of dealing with technology and taking the first step with the technology is completely understanding the pros and cons of the technology that we use. And clearly AI is doing a great job with text, with numbers calculation, reading tables, but it's not there yet when it comes to more detailed drawings or the 3D. As an example, if you want to connect it to the Revit model, the best way is break it down into like Excel sheet and then connect that to Revit API. So I think that rightfully so, what you have here is doing all these comparison based on the text, based on the numbers that we have, and it is starting to show the comparison and the analysis in the drawings. So I'm so happy that we're seeing it early on, and our voice can matter, because when I'm inviting people from the industry to present to us, I only want us to work with people that are open-minded, to listen to the industry and then tweak their solution to fit the industry. And I think that you guys are exactly doing that. We have another question in the chat. What file types does it read? PDF, JPEG, drawing? Jasmine, do you want to ask your question? Because there's more question. Jasmine, are you on the call?
I will say that we do support multiple file types as well. So if you upload a docx, right, or an image, yeah, it does do proper OCR. So it doesn't give you an actual text document or a PDF. It does convert it to a PDF because that's the best file type to actually view inside the browser, right? So when you see me clicking and previewing a spec section, those are PDFs. But yeah, you don't have to start with the original file being a PDF at all.
I understand. And then another question that she has, I don't know, Jasmine, I see you on the call, and I don't know if you can hear me, but the next question is that, can it sort assign the mistake per discipline? MEP structural art. This is a great question. So does it show that, okay, I'm finding the issue here in this specific, document that is coming from MEP, or no? It's just like the overall finding.
These ones right here. So yeah, it does show the spec section that it found it in. I think the UI needs a lot of polish here. We do actually know exactly where this information lives, right? So we could put a link in here to link to the actual spec section and
nice
view it. But yeah, we just we need a few more weeks to polish up the UI. But yeah, we do have all that information in the database, like it is all being tracked and stored.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I wanted to ask is that this is great that it finds where it's not working. Does it also help us with documenting it, how that collaboration is going to happen? So do I, as an architect, find that, okay, this is, this submittal is good to go, and then I document it myself, or can I export anything from your software and send it to my consultant?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now, when you do a new submittal review, we do send you this email, right? So this has the overview on it. There's links to the breakdown and whatnot. But what we're actually developing this week is a like a downloadable version of this that's in the format of like an Excel spreadsheet, right? So it has basically all the submittal review stuff on the first page, and then each spec section that's referenced in the review, the breakdown will be exported inside its own page in Excel as well. So that's how we're thinking about the downloadable, like full review. You want to send this off to someone else. That'll be in a spreadsheet style. But yeah, then there's just a simple email preview as well that you can forward off to people.
That would be amazing. And I love that, like, as your company is like building and growing, we are having these sessions to get feedback, and then the product becomes something that every discipline can agree is the product and is the go-to product.
Yeah.
And I will be watching, like, where SpecBook goes from here. If we have a comment, if we want to stay connected with you, what is the best way of doing that? Because I mean, we obviously want to be part of it when the product is perfected and like start using it as a community, providing feedback, seeing how it's working, trying to adjust to it, because this is the only way I see tech working, this collaborative kind of environment. Is there a way that we can connect to you guys?
Yeah. I'll go for it, Graham.
Yeah, you can either email us, and I'll drop the email at info@specbook.com or specbook.ai, I'm sorry. And then on LinkedIn too, we've got a page there, and you can connect with all three of us very easily. We're a small team. We love working with the customers that we're working with. We meet with them on a weekly basis. And we really enjoy the people that we're working with, would always love and welcome feedback and to chat with any of you further that are on this call. If you want to have a private conversation later this week or next week, would love to hear more feedback from you. So thank you all for coming again today. And thank you again, Tanya and Sarah, for hosting.
Absolutely. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. This was a great session, and the part that I'm most interested in is that the product is growing to become something that the industry loves, and we get to be part of shaping it and the first one using it at any point that is ready. I think the product already is providing so much value that in a traditional method in AEC, we don't have it currently. So great job, guys. I want to share my screen one last time to say that 2 weeks from now, on September 24th, we're going to welcome Aaron from Ignite to present to us. And then we are going to have Harish Plani from Perkins and Will to present to us in October. And I completely wrote it wrong, October 8th. And then we are going to have Eric and James on October 22nd. We also are going to have a big gathering for the AEC industry, October 16th. And thank you all for coming here today. I know there were a couple of questions that we didn't get the time to answer, but you have Graham's and Wes's emails. Reach out, and thank you all for your time. I really enjoyed this, and I think that I'm talking about everyone. Agree with me?
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
This has been fun.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.